Real talk, real life, real sisters, and real Southern. Welcome to Southern Sisters. We're Megan, Lindsay, Courtney, and Evie. 4 sisters with 16 kids between us, running small businesses, chasing big dreams, and keeping it real along the way. Each week, we're diving into all things self-care, motherhood, business, and faith, sharing the good, the messy, and the hilarious moments that come with it. Whether you're striving for balance, chasing your dreams, or just trying to keep the kids fed, we're here to remind you that you're not alone. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's chat.
Welcome to our episode of Southern Sisters. We are so glad that you are here with us today. This is crazy. This whole journey has been incredible, and I'm loving it. So thanks for being along for the ride, y'all. It's been fantastic. Okay, today we are going to talk about building quiet strength and what that looks like. But before we do, our icebreaker question is, what's your most I held it together but barely moment that you've had recently? And I'm going to start this one because, I have 5 kids. I feel like my life is compiled of barely held together moments.
How do you choose?
How do you choose one from the other? So I thought I would share our most recent. And I try not to be too incriminating with my kids. Like, it's always really important to me that we keep their anonymity when it comes to who doing what, because I want to make sure they have the space to be who they're meant to be and not feel like we share everything about them and what they do. Like, no one wants that. Okay, so let's just say that it was a week or 2 ago. So on Monday, little backstory, we always go to a homeschool co-op group, and it's a lot of fun. They're fantastic folks. It's a great experience. We have loved it this year. It's been awesome. Well, we are driving home from said group, and I hear the rumbles from the back seat, and one of my kids says something about the fact that another child told everyone in the homeschool co-op group that they didn't wear underwear that day.
Oh, gosh.
Commando. Now, in their defense,
Oh, no.
we had been a little crazy. We had come home from being out of town the week before. We got home Thursday night really late. This was Monday. Laundry hadn't been done. Mom fail. But I feel like if you don't have underwear, you need to tell somebody that can help you with this goal of getting underwear, and not just not tell everyone that, not tell the person that needs to know, but literally tell the whole world, everyone else. So they were like, yeah, so-and-so was talking about how they weren't wearing underwear, and they told her, and then she told her, and then it would went around to everybody. And I'm like, okay. So I'm just driving, and I'm gripping the steering wheel, and I was like, keep your cool, because I feel like that's my line. I don't have many lines that I draw in the sand, but we wear underpants everywhere.
It's a good line. Okay.
It's a good line. And so the rule has always been that if I catch you not wearing underwear, then you get a bare bottom spank. Okay. And I come at it with all the angst that I feel about you not wearing underwear. Okay. And I'm not a spanker, but in that moment, I feel like it just teaches the lesson of why we should wear underpants, right? Okay.
If you had extra padding, it wouldn't hurt so bad.
Right.
So you're saying this is a family issue.
This is not the first rodeo with someone trying to go commando.
I had
And
no
it was
idea.
so funny because another kid that was in the car was like, oh, you're in for it now, because maybe they have struggled with this issue, right? And so they were like, oh no.
So funny.
It's if she busts you, then that's when you get in trouble. And so, of course, the person that was going commando, we're just going to call him Captain Commando in this moment. So Captain Commando was upset, the tears and the tantrum. It was more tantrum than tears, but you could tell they were just like, no, I shouldn't have been. And I was like, no, this is the rule. If you go commando, then I get to spank your bum. And I was like, and on top of that, if we go in the laundry room as soon as we get home, and there's underwear in your bucket, because we've talked about the system.
Yeah.
I was like, if there's underwear in your bucket, you're going to get a little wallop for every pair of underpants I find in there. So then they were like,
no.
no. So we get home, I throw the car in park, like they're out of the
She
car.
was excited.
Going running into the laundry room. So I'm literally hot on the trail, and like right behind them they go, and they're breathing heavy, and they're like and I was like, what? And then they said, well, I only have a t-shirt and a pair of jeans in here. And I was like, well, today's your lucky day. So then I turned him over my knee and spanked him one time. And they were like, there was no underwear in the bucket. Why did I get to spank it? I was like, because of the tantrum. Okay. Like that's,
You went commando.
yeah. I'm like,
That's why you got it.
I'm like, you don't do that. You just don't. We don't live that way. So that
Steal
was
some from a sibling.
What was going on with you emotionally, though?
I was like, we are not these people. I feel like everyone has levels of like what's permissible. And I just think underwear is important.
She saw red.
red.
That's what
So I'm like, yeah, I was just like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, not only that, he like messed with your reputation. Now you're the mom that lets your kid go commando to all the other homeschool moms, which I'm sure they get, but yeah.
The bar is not high, y'all. It's just
This is just
underpants.
basic things, man.
All right. So
So I've got one along those lines.
oh, great. Make me feel better, Lindsay.
Yeah, when I almost lost it, it was okay. So Adam, it was Sunday, and Sundays, some days are the hardest days. And Adam is the bishop in our ward, which means that he has to sit up far away from us every Sunday during church because he's like running our church and making sure everybody's doing what they need to do. Which is really hard for me. So that hour of church when I have to keep my kids quiet and happy and from having meltdowns is the hardest hour of my entire week. And I've tried to work on my mindset about it. It just hasn't changed because then crap like this happens. So we're up there. We get there on time because it's important for Adam that we're always on time. Not just Sundays, but always. And so we get there a little early and things were going fine. And I thought Disney had fixed him and it was wonderful. And I will call him out. This is my toddler. He's like 18 months, a little bit like 20 months. So we thought we were doing great and doing a lot better. He'd had some good times and could sit still. He sits still during prayer and folds his little arms and is so sweet. And that Sunday, it was a couple weeks ago, and there was a point where he was just everywhere. He was wild and crazy. He wouldn't settle down. He kept talking loud when other people were up there talking. And I'm like, I don't want to have the loud kid. And so I like take my hand and I put it over his mouth because he was like, la, really loud. It was like echoing. And so I just put my hand over his mouth and I was like, just be quiet. Not so loud. And he literally tried to bite me and my hand, and I was like, no. And then I look at him and he looks right up at me and he yanks my hair and then he slaps my leg and then he tries to bite me again. And I was like, what? It was like all in slow motion. I was like, are you kidding me? Oh my gosh.
So I look at him. I like move my leg so he doesn't bite me. And you can't be like, no, right in the middle of church, right?
Yeah.
Which is what I do, right?
my
So I was like,
You could.
Could do.
so I look at him like this little tiny tyrant, and I look at him, and I just stood right up. I pick him up under, and then put him under my arm like a football
Yeah.
hold. So he was horizontal.
Yeah. I know
Walk
that
him
hold well.
out. I had to step over my brother because he was visiting. I step over Josh and he was like, oh my gosh, like what is going to happen? I hold him in a football hold all the way outside. And Adam was like, I see Adam from the thing. And he's like, what is happening? And so I sit him outside and I was like, okay, just be patient because don't lose it. Number one, you're in church. Number two, you're supposed to be thinking about Jesus, not killing your kid. So I think I had shocked the crud out of him so much that he was silent.
and he didn't move. I think the football hold enough to like scoop him up, put him in a football hold. And I could see people like as I was walking out, they were like, oh, like I'm like, so I sit him on the little couch outside and I got down on my knees and I like took a breath and I'm like, okay, it's fine. So I sat down and I got right in his face. So he was sitting down on the couch and I just looked right close to him. We were like a foot apart. And I just I'm like, you do not bite mom. You do not pull hair. You do not. Unacceptable. We do not do this in our family. And he just looked at me and he goes, I was like, did you just say sorry? Did you just say sorry? I was like, he has never in his life said sorry. I was like, did you just apologize to me? And he goes, oh, and he puts his arms around me to hug me. And I was like, okay, that saved you, son. I almost lost it in front of everyone.
Yeah.
But
God, Adam, everyone.
you handled it with such beauty and grace.
Yeah, football hold. That was pretty. That was
He's
pretty
heavy.
crazy. He is heavy.
He is solid.
He is solid.
He is just like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty impressive.
And he's really strong now. So like fighting him,
Yes,
I can't
it's
hold him like
exhausting.
holding his arm still. He like wiggles out of it.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
strong.
Very
But-
determined.
Yeah, he's gonna be great one day. But that was when I almost killed my child. And then Adam texts me. He's like, "Is everything okay?" Yeah. But then you have Adam who's like, I said, I just wish you were down here. And he's like, I wish I was down there. I'm like, that's not helpful. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
So we always have a thing where Caleb fights the entire church trying to get up to Adam. And so every Sunday, as soon as like prayer ends, I like let him go. This time I was like kicking him out of the pew. Like, get it, go get your dad. I mean, it was that was when I almost lost it. Gotta love it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Amy?
Well, mine's not recent, but it's the one that I could think of, and I did lose it. So I was like a little over 8 months pregnant with my third, and my son at the time, he had like just turned 3. And so we went to Target, and we wanted to get out of the house, or I wanted to get out of the house. And we walked past the toy aisle, and of course he wants a toy. And at that age, you know, they're learning about the word no. You know, he didn't like that word. And so he just starts throwing like a huge fit. And so like I already had all of the stuff that I was there for. And so I decided, you know, maybe I can check out really quickly. And he's like trying to kick me and screaming and stuff. And I get to the checkout line and he's still screaming and kicking and throwing a fit. And this sweet Target lady came up to us and she was trying to hand him stickers. And, you know, at that point, like, they don't care what you try to hand them. You could try to hand them a lollipop. They will throw it. Like, they do not care.
The switch is flipped.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, you know, you also have that moment where you're like, oh my goodness, like, are people watching me? Like, what kind of mom do they think I am? You know, you have all these thoughts just swirling in your head. And so the lady, she was like, sweetie, you need to calm down. Like, you're going to make yourself throw up. And so finally I get my receipt and I'm holding it and I'm walking out trying to rush to my car. It was super windy outside. So my receipt flies out of my hands all while my kid is screaming. And luckily these sweet people saw that I was struggling and they chased my receipt for me and brought it to me. And so I just rushed to my car and I call my husband and I'm just like crying. And luckily he was like, it's okay, like, calm down, like, I'm coming to get him and then you can keep on with your shopping.
Good job, brother.
Yes, but man, I know like parents have those moments where they just leave the shopping cart because their kid is just, you know, not having it that day. But I needed those things, so
Way to keep on.
I
keeping
had
on.
to, yes.
That's great. That's funny.
I couldn't see any of your kids doing it. They're just so
so sweet.
angelic.
They are.
Yeah, it was just, you know, the learning the no is, and I also, it's partly my fault because I used to be really bad about telling my kids no to things. I'd be like, Mom, can I have this? Be like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then I started to realize, like, I need to quit doing that. You know, I need to quit, you know, buying them everything that they ask for. Now we have a reward system in place. But
This is good.
yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very good.
Courtney, what's yours?
So I was thinking about what was mine, and the time that came to mind was when I was a new mom and I had my first baby, and I really wanted to. I lived in Virginia for my husband was going to medical school at the time, and I really wanted to. My mom came to visit, and she came to help, and she was freaking amazing. She painted an entire like Noah's Ark mural while she was helping with dishes and food and like in my kitchen. Like, it was crazy. And I really I always wanted people to come and visit because I was so lonely, and I always wanted like to make it a fun trip for people. And so I was like, Mom, let's go to the beach because we're just like 45 minutes away, right? So I'm like a week postpartum, and I'm like, let's go to the beach, right? First kid, I can do everything.
Yeah.
I can do it all. I just had
You're
a
a
natural
boss, babe.
childbirth. I
No
just,
big deal.
can do everything. So anyways, unbeknownst to me, I actually had mastitis at the time. When we got home, I was just like totally in fever, hot and cold and stuff. But I'm sitting in the car. I got to nurse the baby, and I'm looking, and I'm sitting in the back seat, and we're parked in the way that you can see the beach and the water like right in front of me. So but we're probably like 100 feet away from it. And so as I'm sitting there in the back of the car, and I'm just nursing, and I'm seeing my husband and my mom out there on the beach. And I'm like, I realize that my life is never going to be the same. Like, it's always going to be kid first. Take care of the kid. Like, I am source of food. I am what they need. I don't have any more independence. They need me. Like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks and literally in my head, I was like, I can't have any fun anymore. I will never be the same again. I will never have any more fun.
Wait, why did I do this again?
Exactly. Like, what? So it's just like those moments that people don't tell you about, you know, like they don't explain to you how hard it is sometimes to lose that independence you're so used to. And I literally called Megan that like while I was in the back seat, and I just cried to her. I was like, why did we do this? Like, why is this so hard? Like, life is never going to be the same.
And my question was, why are you at the beach right now?
Whatever.
You just had a baby.
She knew why. I really wanted Mom to be at the beach. So anyways, but then we got back and figured out it was a lot more than just me sacrificing motherhood. So
Yeah.
anyways, but yeah, I lost it too.
Yeah.
We all have those moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. I love that, Court. I think that's a fantastic segue into our topic today about quiet strength. So my thought is, what does quiet strength mean to each of us? I feel like for me, quiet strength is the building process. Like, it's not just pushing through the things that you have to do, but actually like figuring out, building that reserve of strength is something that happens kind of a lot like what Evie talks about, like little moments of strength where you don't just throw yourself into it, but maybe there's more intention there.
I have a hard time with this one because I am not a quiet person.
No.
Anybody know me? Yes, I'm not a quiet person. And not only am I not quiet, I laugh loudly and all the time, as much as I possibly can. And my voice carries. And I always used to get in trouble because Megan would be like, and I'd be like, and it'd be so loud and raspy.
And everybody would be like, Lindsay, stop yelling at your sister.
And Megan would be like, hey. And I always got in trouble in school. Always, always, always. Everyone would be talking and they'd be like, Lindsay. I'm like, I just started talking. So quiet strength to me it's not about volume. It's not about any of that. It's about taking moments to be still for me. It is when there's so much going on in my head and my mind is constantly like all the time, all the things, all the time. I have had to teach myself how to meditate. I've had to teach myself how to clear my mind, how to stop myself from getting distracted or following a thought process when I'm trying to focus on what I'm doing. And so your best ideas don't come out of strategy or trying to figure out what you need to do, they come out of stillness. And so that is the thing that I've been striving for a lot probably the last 5 years, is find that stillness within myself. And that is why I do my morning walks, because I can't get that quiet all the time. It's rare. So that's what it means to me.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Well, if anyone knows me, being quiet is something that I don't struggle with. I think in a way it's a strength of mine, but it can also, I don't want to say it's like also a weakness, but I need to learn the times when it's okay for me to speak up and I don't know, like stand for truth or defend myself in something. But I guess for me, quiet strength is learning that we don't always have to respond back to things. Sometimes there's more strength in, like, if somebody is saying something bad about you, or they're trying to start drama, or they're trying to, just stir up contention. Sometimes it's okay to just not say anything. Like, there's strength in that versus like feeding into the drama or the contention. That's what came to my mind.
It's crazy.
What?
Everybody's so different.
All right, what's yours?
Mine comes when I thought about quiet strength. I thought about the times when you struggle with things and you have to be strengthened, and only God knows what you're struggling with. So mostly I thought of when you have to be quiet about someone else's struggle, because it would be some form of betrayal to them to talk about it to anybody, to get any kind of like perspective or comfort. Like some problems, surface problems you have, you're fine talking to other people, but sometimes someone comes to you with their struggle and you can't tell anybody about it because it's their struggle, not yours. And I think that women don't talk about that very much. I don't feel like that's something that
I don't
is
know that I've ever heard anyone talk about that.
common. And what I'm talking about is, like, I think about whenever, it's easy to say this now because, like, I'm not married to my ex, but whenever he decided that he was atheist, like, I had to keep that quiet. I had to not tell people about his spiritual struggles. I was dealing with this spiritual abandonment, and I couldn't tell anybody about it because it would be some form of betrayal to him. And now I feel like I can talk a little more about it because people need help knowing how to deal with that whenever they're alone in it. And that's the same thing goes for people who, that they have things that go on like addiction or alcoholism or, infidelity, things like that, and the quiet strength that comes from only being able to turn to God because you can't talk to anybody about what you're dealing with.
I love that thought.
I love that thought too. Well, we could just end right there, guys.
But
feel
it's
like
normal.
somebody-
It's okay.
I feel like somebody is listening right now and is like,
Yeah,
like I needed to hear that.
It's okay to not talk about it. Like you shouldn't, like I think that sometimes you want to have relationships where you're like, you tell me everything and I tell you everything. But it's okay to not talk about other people's struggles. And that is strong and powerful to be able to keep it to yourself and to turn to God, because I've been doing this 40-day fast, a sugar fast, and Wendy Speak is the author of this book that I love with the 40-day fast. And one of the days, it's like the 4th day, and it's like, okay, now that you've given up sugar, what else are you turning to instead of God? And I'm like, oh, gosh, dagger to the heart.
Netflix.
Like, Diet Dr. Pepper.
I said Netflix.
Netflix, right? Reels on Instagram, like all of these things. Like it's, but there's moments when I'm the kind of person I want to know everybody's opinion so that I can make the best decision. I can talk it out with people.
You're an external processor.
Right. But sometimes all you need to do is talk it out with God and that's okay. And I'm sorry for anyone that's having to deal with that right now. I'm sorry that is your struggle right now. But that it's going to get better and you're going to feel more empowered because you've kept that to yourself.
It's an honor to carry somebody else's burden for a little bit.
To be trusted with that.
Yeah.
Makes you a better person too.
They say that the strongest steel is forged in the hottest fire. And I think something that Courtney brings to light that often we don't think about is the fact that sometimes that fire is completely internal. Like, when you can see the house burning down, that's a struggle. But how many people are surrounding us that have these internal struggles?
Mold inside the house that you can't see. Black mold that you can't see, but you just are sick all the time.
Right? Oh, man. That just got dark.
Sorry. I was working with the metaphor.
Oh, my gosh.
I was thinking of something internal in a house. That's what I went to.
I know. Okay, so it's
Busted
the fire.
pipes.
The fire. All of which AAA service company can help you with. All right. Shout out to Josh, our brother. But it is true though. It is those things that you can't see. It's like the seen versus the unseen.
Yeah.
And you have to ask yourself, like, that quiet strength. When you're faced with those moments, what are you going to do? What are the choices that you're going to make that will literally refine you in these moments? All right, I found this and I wanted to share it here on the podcast because I felt like this would go great with our episode of Quiet Strength in helping you see the difference, your perspective, and how it changes everything. Okay? One morning, she woke up different, done with trying to figure out who was with her, against her, or walking down the middle because they didn't have the guts to choose a side. She was done with anything that didn't bring her peace. She realized that opinions were a dime a dozen, validation was for parking, and loyalty wasn't a word, but a lifestyle. It was this day that her life changed. And not because of a man or a job or her children, but because she realized that life is way too short to leave the keys to your happiness in someone else's pocket. Let's sit with that for a moment. What does that make you think when it comes to quiet strength and building that?
So I feel like this is literally what I'm going through right now. On the inside. I have this internal struggle on social media with my agent and the company that I've built to be my whole self. Because you're supposed to keep how you feel and your thoughts about religion and separation of church and state, and business is supposed to be professional. And so I moved that into my social media, and I've never been that person that doubted that until a few years ago. And the reason why I felt like this is because I went through an experience a few years ago where I worked for a company and I was a travel agent. And we were on a trip. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I was doing exactly what I was meant to do. And I was discovering gifts and things about myself that I had never experienced. We were sitting in a room. There were all these women. And the owner of the company, the agency we were a part of, we were all sitting there because we'd earned this special rewards trip. And we're sitting there in this circle, and people kept talking about like struggles. She's like, we're going to talk about a struggle that you have, and we're going to see if we can help each other. Like, if she was like, I'm going to help you. And God's going to tell me what you need to hear. So I was like,
she said that?
yeah. Oh. And so we were sitting there, and person after person, she just wasn't saying anything. Like, she didn't have anything to say. And it was like the first person, I just kept my mouth shut, and I knew exactly what to say that would help them in that moment. And I'm like, I'm new. Like, I'm still new. This is not my thing. This is her thing. I'm just a participant. And so then the next person went, and it was something totally unrelated to the business. And I like knew exactly what I should say to her. And I didn't, because of my experience, and I didn't say anything. And the third person started talking, and I like had to go to the bathroom because I was like overcome with like this feeling like you need to say something. And I'm like, this is not my place. And so I go in the bathroom, and I started crying because I'm like, Lindsay, shut up. Like in my head, like, shut up. This is not your meeting. Stop. And I literally heard very clearly, like for the first time, open your mouth. I'll never forget it. I'd never heard God that loudly to me. So I walked back in that room, and the next person started speaking. And I knew exactly how to help her, and so I said something. And then the next girl talked, and she was a new nursing mom, and she was like, I don't know what to do. We don't have home cooked meals. And I'm like, I was sitting there thinking, I just did freezer meals with my sisters last week. Have you heard of freezer meals? And she's like, what is that? I'm like, what? And no one else in there had ever heard of freezer meals. I'm like, what is happening?
That'll be another episode.
Right? So it's like person after person, and then this brand new friend that was sitting right beside me, Kim, who on the day that we met, one of her very best friends committed suicide.
Oh, that's heavy.
And it happened right before she walked up to meet me. And she was a mess. Jeez. And it had only been a couple months. And she had no idea anything was going on with this friend of hers. And so she got the courage, because she doesn't speak out either. And she got the courage to sit in that meeting and say how terrified she was and how she didn't know what was going to happen. And I waited for this owner to say something. I felt again that I needed to say something. And so I looked at Kim, and I said, you know you're going to see her again one day, right? And I was crying, and she was crying, and she was like, what? And I said, the people that leave us, it's not the end for them. We're going to see them again. And she's watching over you. And she's okay. Like, she's okay now. And she'll be with you. And so I was crying, she was crying. So that whole experience happened, and this owner talked to me, and we had a long conversation that day, and she's like, you need to do this with my agents at every trip. I want you to do this. You are meant to do this. You are saying the things that they need to hear. You need to do this. I want you to be a part of, I want you to be this new position where you handle all the agent relations. And I created what it was called, and we started talking about these things, and the whole weekend, everybody was on board. Everybody knew about it. All the agents were like, this would be perfect. It's so needed in the agency right now. We need it so bad. And it was growing quickly. And so that's how it happened. And so then the night before we left, she was like, can I talk to you? I was like, yeah. So we were talking in the room where she was, and she starts asking me questions. She's like, what do you know? Everything that you were talking about, what do you know? You know more than what you're saying. I was like, well, yeah. I'm not going to say everything that I know all in one conversation. And she's like, so she asked me question after question after question. And I told her what I believed. And I told her what I grew up knowing and the things that I had learned and prayed about, and everything that she asked, I answered. She was crying and I was crying, and she's like, no one's ever explained this to me and has had answers like you've had. No one's ever been able to tell me these things, and I just feel like this is the answer. So, I'm like, okay, if you want to learn more, I'll tell you more. It's fine. So we leave there, and the trip is over, and we go home. It was a great experience. She said, will you pray with me? And she like held out her hand. I'm like, okay, that's weird. That's fine. So I held her hand, and we said a prayer, and I could tell she was worried about going home. And so she went home, and later I get a phone call. I didn't know anything had gone on, but later I get a phone call, and she had gone home and told her husband, and he is not a good person. I got very bad vibes from this person. I just will leave it at that. And apparently he had twisted everything. So in the time that I left her, and within a day or two, he had twisted everything I had said to her. He had told her all this stuff that how I was wrong and I was a liar. He had convinced her of all of this stuff. So she calls me in for 2 hours. We were on the phone, and they were just berating me over and over and over again and wanting to argue. And I didn't want to argue. And by the end of it, I was so mad and furious. And I just bore my testimony of what I believed.
Wait, okay. So none of this had to do with travel.
None of it.
This was all your personal beliefs,
Yeah.
namely the religion you live.
Yes. Being a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Okay. Just so we're clear.
What I didn't know happened when she told me right then is after she left me, she felt like she shouldn't go home. She went to one of our church buildings, and we're trying to see if people were there so she could talk to somebody. So he had twisted all these things and said all these horrible things and convinced her of all this stuff. And she knew me well enough to know that none of that was true. It was like so twisted. So I just told her what I believed, and I hung up the phone. So she was supposed to announce me in this new position, and that didn't happen. And all of a sudden in the meeting, she's like, I don't think this is going to work. I'm not hiring you for this. I'm like, okay. And I was so upset because I'd already been working on a plan of how we could do things differently. And I get a call, and she talked to me, and she had an agenda that behind this phone call. I thought it was a friendly phone conversation, and she was arguing with me. You believe this, and this is wrong. And you believe this, and this is wrong. And this is why you're wrong. And this is what the internet says about what you believe. I'm like, how do you know what I believe? You haven't asked me what I believe with that. Like, how do you know? That's not what I believe. And yeah, the internet is always right. And so at the end of that conversation, I said, you know, I feel like I can love and respect you for believing something different. And we don't have to believe the same things. It's okay. I still have a great love and respect for what you're doing and what you're building. And if we're both trying to follow God and do the things that we're supposed to do, I think we're going to be okay. We don't have to do the same thing. And she said, I agree. And I said, can you and I, do you feel like you are at a place where you and I can believe different things and work together and respect each other, even though we believe different things? And she said, yes. And I said, okay, well, I would like to do that still. And then she said, okay. And then she literally, the next breath said, in an unrelated topic, I'm terminating your contract with our agency. And I said, what?
What?
And I feel like in that moment, she was trying to cover herself that it wouldn't be religious discrimination when she said, yeah, we can work together. Because I was recording it. Anyways.
Oh, God.
So in that moment, felt like I had whiplash. And then she starts saying, well, so-and-so said you lied, and started making up all this garbage that wasn't true. And I literally, it was coming at me for about 5 minutes. And I literally was like, thank you, but I'm done. We don't need to talk anymore. If that's what you believe, there's nothing else I can say. So I hung up the phone. And that was the day that I remember it so clearly. I called Kim and I was like, told her everything that happened. And she was livid. I love her so much. And we had gotten close throughout this whole process. And I literally was sitting there like destroyed because I was so excited and ready for this new opportunity and felt like this is what I was supposed to do. I had that feeling at the place where I was saying the things that I needed to say. I was being this person that God wanted me to be. And I was living this life and starting to get a glimpse of who this person was, and was shut down and literally fired for what I believed. And there's nothing I could do to change that. And then she told 1,200 people that I was a liar and said all of this horrible stuff about me.
That's crazy.
And so then my name was just run through the mud. And there were so many people that were like, this isn't you. What she's saying is not you. We know you. But most of the people didn't. And so as I've been working through this, how I've been feeling lately, I feel like I have so much baggage of like holding back a piece of me. And it's not because I don't want to talk about it, because I love this podcast for that reason. Mm-hmm. But it's because it's something that's so precious to me that I don't want to have that happen again. But what I've realized lately is thank you for that experience. Mm-hmm. Because that day my son came home and he came home from school and his dad told him what was going on. And he was like, Mom, did you get persecuted for your beliefs? I was like, yeah, I did. And he was like, that's not okay. But what happened with Christ? You know, there have been so many great people that have been persecuted for what they believed. And I do not compare myself to him. But in that situation, I knew he knew what I had been through.
Yeah.
And that night, Adam said, so what are you going to do? I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't want to do anything. I just want to run as far as I can and never be a part of this industry. I don't want to do anything. And then he was really quiet. And I was like, what? And he said, I know what you're going to do. I said, what am I going to do? And he said, you're going to start your own travel agency. I was like, ew. No, I'm not. That's gross. And he was like, yeah, you are. I already printed off the paperwork and it's on the table. And in that moment, I was like, what? And I just remember the next couple hours, I was like, could I? Should I? No, that's crazy. But could I? And so in that moment where all of this terrible stuff happened and it was an opportunity where she could have gone one way and it went the other way, my life was blessed forever, because out of that trial and out of that really hard thing that made me scared to say anything came something beautiful. And Kim quit and stuck it to her. She was very like upfront about what she believed and how it was wrong, and she had my back. And so we created this agency, and I look back now because we're celebrating 3 years.
Nice.
This month.
Congratulations.
It's pretty cool. Awesome. But like what my life looks like now, we have almost 100 agents, and they're such a blessing. We've helped thousands of families go on vacation and make memories together. We have helped so many families provide for their family, and it's just continuing to grow. And none of that would have happened had I not been through that experience and that trial. And I just think even though the hard thing is really hard, you don't grow when everything is good. Mm-hmm. You grow out of failure. You grow out of hard times. You grow out of trials. And then you can be the person that you're really meant to be, one little tiny thing at a time.
I heard something that said that you don't pray for an easy life. You pray to have the strength to make it through the hard times. And I think it is so universal because in the world that we live in right now, Christianity ain't cool.
No.
And having values and faith and family and like putting these things as a priority is
Weird.
it's weird, but in a lot of ways, it's almost like the quiet strength that no one sees and no one talks about, but everybody feels it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like there's an undercurrent and there's a shift happening in our world where people are beginning to feel like they say they value this thing, because I feel like God is taking these experiences that we have where we are discriminated against because of who we are and how we believe. And he's whispering on our hearts and saying, this is not okay. I need you to speak up.
Well, and I haven't
Open
talked,
your mouth.
and I haven't shared the story out loud. I've told some of my agents that asked,
Yeah.
like, what happened. Saying it out loud is why I was so emotional, is because it's freeing. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And I am so tired of being quiet and being only part of who I am. I'm like ready to stand and just truly be who I'm meant to be. That doesn't mean that the people around us have to believe what we believe. It doesn't mean that they have to agree, but it's time in our country and in our world that we appreciate each other's differences and that it's okay. And that we can still grow closer together as a people. We can still grow closer together as human beings. And we all believe, we all have so many beliefs and things in common, no matter what your background is.
I think it's so important that we recognize one of the things that I firmly believe, and I've tried to teach this to my kids, is that, and especially like when I'm talking with the youth, is that we are all God's children, and all the labels that we put on ourselves and who we are based on the color of our skin or where we were raised or what side of the tracks we grew up on or who we love, those are all very mortal segregations, and they divide us and they keep us from being the best version of ourself whenever you use that as the parameter from which you define yourself instead of as a child of God. That's one of the coolest things. When we went to Mexico as a family, we came home and my little one said, you know what I realized by going on vacation to Mexico was that we're all God's children. And everyone was so nice. And the thought of going to a different country was a little scary because it's unknown. She goes, but I had the best time. And I know that God loves those people just as much as he loves me. And the more we can unite ourselves under the umbrella of being his children, the better off we're all going to be, because we all have different jobs. We all have a different mission here to build his kingdom, and it's going to look different for everybody. And I think having those quiet strength moments, whether it's helping someone else carry their burden or having moments when you're called to stand that have to build you from within, like that experience that you had built you to be who you are now and gave you the space to do what he needs you to do now. And that's incredible. It is truly, truly incredible. And it happens one little experience and one little moment of time at a time. So I think it's profound and it's incredible. One of the things we want to help you focus on with this week, our journal prompt for the week, is going to be, where have I shown quiet strength in my life lately? Because it's really, really important when you're going through these moments of the refiner's fire that you recognize it. Recognize the hard and acknowledge it. Like, look it in the face and say, this is hard. This is heavy. I'm going through it. And give yourself the space not to just bulldoze through it, but to like recognize, what am I supposed to learn here? Like, how can I make this struggle worth the struggle.
It's okay to go through it messy.
Yeah.
It's okay to do and say the wrong things.
Yeah.
All that's okay. We're very messy here. But I like your affirmation that you did today. You said, I may bend, but I will not break. And I think that sums it up perfectly.
Yeah.
Resilience can be fragile and messy, but it's all about continuing to show up and push through.
And walk the path.
Yep.
If you need something to remind you, one of my favorite scriptures is found in Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ that strengtheneth me. In those moments where you feel burdened or you feel like you can't go a step further, turn it over to him. However that looks for you, turn it over, because he has carried all things and he can. And together we're all going to get through this hot mess express of life. Well, I hope you're able to draw something from this episode.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to read the thing. We love the feedback that we get from you guys. We had someone leave us a review on Apple, and it brought tears to my eyes. This was
we want to
from-
start reading these.
Yeah, we want to start sharing them with you, because that way you know you're not alone. This one struck a particular chord with me. They said, this podcast is just what I needed during this season of motherhood. As a working mom, it's so nice to hear other moms talking about balancing work, family, church, and personal struggles, even though I don't know these ladies personally. Which is mind-blowing to me, because honestly, sometimes I feel like no one listens.
Just mom. Just mom's listening.
Just mom. Yeah. My mom listens. I know she does, and I love it. But even though I don't know these ladies personally, their conversations make me feel like they would be great friends in real life. 100% agree. Listening to them banter and chat feels like you're right there in the middle of a girls' night. I also really appreciate how they weave faith and religion into their podcast. That's good, because we do a lot of that. There have been many moments where something they said was exactly what I needed to hear at the time. They're great at keeping their episodes uplifting, real, and funny all in one. So thank you for being a part.
Who shared that?
This was AIM 91191.
Nice. Thanks, Aim.
So we're glad you're here. We're glad you're along with this journey. And no matter where you are, I hope you're able to pull something from these episodes that helps you in your time of need. That's what we're here for, and that's why we're doing this. So until next time,
Keep striving, and we'll see y'all soon.
Thanks for hanging out with us here at Southern Sisters. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to follow us on social media for more laughs, heart-to-hearts, and behind-the-scenes real life. We'd be thrilled if you subscribed to the podcast, left us a review, and shared it with your friends, because life's always better when we're on this journey together. Until next time, keep striving, keep laughing, and keep showing up. We'll see you all back here real soon.